With little to no argument, actor and screen legend Steve McQueen was given the title King of Cool for good reason. His dedication to realism and screen presence has left a mark on Hollywood revered to this day due to his obsession with speed and danger. His love of racing would often attract him to projects that would allow him to express that passion.
He loved being on the edge. I mean, he wasn't happy unless you were right on the edge of crashing and burning or winning.
McQueen's legend would be cemented in 1968's action crime thriller Bullitt. Directed by Peter Yates and released by Warner Brothers, Bullitt tells the story of San Francisco detective Frank Bullitt investigating the murder of a mob witness killed while under his protection. The film has been noted as being one of the most influential car chase films in cinema history. Due to his background in car and motorcycle racing, McQueen wanted to avoid the old method of filming car chases, still being used in Hollywood at the time, of rear projection while the actors sat in car shells in a soundstage. To help achieve this, McQueen brought in English director Peter Yates, who had grabbed attention with the British crime drama Robbery, which he directed the year prior, that featured an adrenaline, fast-paced opening chase scene shot for real on the streets of London.
I bet you're a perfectionist.
Well, I try to do a good job, I try.
With crew now in place and the film greenlit to go into production, being co-produced by McQueen's company Solar Productions, Bullitt would commence shooting in February 12, 1968. The scene of the chase begins with Detective Lieutenant Frank Bullitt returning to his parked Mustang after undertaking a series of investigations into the death of a witness he was in charge of protecting. Noticing he's being followed, Bullitt proceeds to drive away calmly and head off into the busy city streets where he's continued to be shadowed. In keeping with his desire for realism, McQueen brought in actor-stunt driver Bill Hickman to be the number 2 man in this chase he wanted to shoot on the streets of San Francisco. With Hickman following, Bullitt breaks away and heads off into the famous steep roads of the city. McQueen and Hickman worked closely together in designing the chase, as both brought their own personal expertise into the choreography.
In the beginning, we felt that we should start off working in close harmony at a racetrack so that Bill Hickman and myself would be used to working close to each other at high speed.
Hickman had been a close friend to actor James Dean, who he was following on the day of his death in a fatal car crash, as he was the first person to arrive at the crash site and pull Dean out from the wreckage. Hickman had an extensive acting and stunt career in Hollywood, having worked on such famous car chase films such as Vanishing Point, The French Connection, and his final acting performance in The 7-Ups, which almost mirrored his performance from Bullitt before his untimely death in 1986. With a build-up in tension, we the audience are treated to a jazz fusion style score by Argentinian composer Lalo Schifrin, who had gained fame for his theme score to the Mission Impossible television series.
It's a famous chase that Peter Yates did a great job, and he did ask me for music for the chase. But there are 4 minutes of music before the chase. The director says, you have to have music here. No, we're going to abruptly cut it.
The Mustang reappears and the roles suddenly reverse, as McQueen is seen tailing his would-be assassins down the suburban Frisco street. According to Peter Yates, McQueen insisted on having his face seen as much as possible inside the car and through the window during the driving to show his involvement in the chase. With an abrupt cut of the music score, we are bombarded with the sound of the black car screeching and smoking its tires as it tries to escape. For the high-speed action to take place, the choice was made to obtain a set of high-performance V8s to be driven on the steep hills of the city, where torque was going to be needed, along with reliability to perform the demanding stunts. Production wanted a pair of vehicles that would meet this demand, and found them in 2 late model muscle cars that were ultimately selected. A 1968 Dodge Charger RT and a 68 Ford Mustang 390 Fastback were to be these 2 cars. Of the 2 models chosen, Steve McQueen opted for the Mustang to be the car he would drive in this chase. Equipped with a Ford FE 390 cubic inch engine, 320 to 335 horsepower and a top speed of 130 miles per hour, the Mustang had a generous performance package offering that made it a suitable choice for the film. Unlike the Mustang that was supplied by Ford, the second car for this chase needed to be bought by the producers, who opted for the much heavier and subsequently more powerful Dodge Charger RT. The Charger was powered by a 440 cubic inch Magnum engine, which had an output of 375 horsepower and a top speed of 132 miles per hour, and was selected in the triple black colour scheme with its tail stripes deleted. Though weighing in at just over 3,500 pounds, the Charger left the Mustang at a somewhat disadvantage in power and speed. The excess weight and power of the Charger led to some oversteer issues during the chase that cost the production a remote camera setup that was destroyed upon impact. The footage had survived but was oddly edited together in order to try and insert this into the scene. Missing the same corner the Charger had its accident and skidding off point, McQueen continues and reverses the Mustang hard and then proceeds to burn rubber as he continues with the chase. With cameras mounted outside and in both cars, McQueen and Yates wanted to get the audience as much into the chase as possible and allowed them to be part of the ride as the sound of the engines and tyre screeches drown out any other external noise. The chase now finds its way down the steep slopes of Taylor Street as the cars begin jumping off the asphalt as they descend down from it. It is here that we get one of the first running gags of the chase, where we are introduced to the now famous green VW Beetle that both cars pass several times, mostly due to editing to different camera angles. This Beetle was used as a traffic control car in order to allow for greater safety at intersections. The infamy of this era was not lost on even The Simpsons, who included the green VW in its homage to Bullitt, along with the inclusion of even the falling hubcaps trope. It has been argued that the hubcaps of the Charger and Bullitt had been seen at least 6 times to have come off during the chase. The chase continues on with the driver of the Charger growing more desperate to evade the Mustang as it makes its way into the winding road of Francisco and Larkin Street, narrowly avoiding a collision with oncoming traffic as it drives past the camera. It is here the chase grows tighter as the Mustang is closing the gap and we start to see cinematographer William A. Fraker shine as he is now placed on a camera car, giving us a fast-paced side shot ride to follow the carnage. The cars now enter a much wider type of road and no longer need to rely on static pedestrian shots as much as before, as the camera car now takes over. Leaving the Midtown area, the two V8s begin to show their full potential in speed as both give a tremendous performance as Fraker and his crew keep up alongside in a special camera car built by Pat Hustis that would travel in speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour to follow the action. The cars now lead off into Mansell and University Street as the chase enters into its third and final act, with the Charger and Mustang squaring off on the busy open roads. A setup for a motorcycle stunt takes place as stuntman Bud Eakins, under the advice of McQueen, performs a slide while riding a BSA 750 on the busy road, forcing Bullitt and his Mustang to skid off onto the gravelly extension and spin out, kicking up a cloud of dust as he does so.
The marvellous thing about having an actor like McQueen who can actually drive is that you don't have to work out all sorts of ways of cutting into your doubles, and ways of not getting too close to the car because you might see that the man driving is not Steve McQueen.
Determined not to give up, Bullitt starts off once more and continues on his pursuit. From a side view of the Mustang, we can see some of the mounts attached underneath in order to place the camera when needed for close-ups to film shots on Steve driving. With only minor adjustments to the actual cars used in order to take the stress and pressure this high chase required, both the Charger and Mustang are taken to their mechanical and structural limit. It is at this point that the two cars begin to take on a number of damages as they are shown colliding with other vehicles and railings, with the Charger racing right under the camera crane, adding to the frantic speed being displayed. It is by this stage undoubtedly clear that the two vehicles selected have been well chosen, despite their performance differences. The roads now clear up and both the Mustang and Charger finally go head to head in one last showdown. This is the accumulation of weeks of preparation on the track that McQueen and Hickman practiced for, now coming to its conclusion on screen. Despite the Mustang in actuality not being able to keep up with the more powerful and heavier Charger, we now see them collide with one another as Bullitt tries to bring the chase to an end by ramming into the bigger vehicle. The third man in this chase, now aiming to shoot Bullitt, is character actor Paul Genge, who was often cast as heavies in tough street cops due to his short, rugged appearance. Growing more desperate, the killers try a last-ditch effort to blast Steve off their tail as the chase comes to a halt at the corner of Guadalupe Canyon Parkway and North Hill Drive. Bullitt is able to ram his Mustang into the killer's vehicle and force them off the road into a gas station Bowser, causing it to explode in a massive display of pyrotechnics. The chase is now over as the killers are seen burn in the resulting fire from the explosion, and the Mustang is never seen again throughout the remainder of the film. Bullitt was released on October 17, 1968 and was the fourth highest grossing film of that year, bringing in over $42 million on a $5.5 million budget. Originally based on the novel Mute Witness by Robert L. Fish about a New York lieutenant placed in charge of the protection of a mob witness, Bullitt had become Steve McQueen's pet project, where he had a lot of control of the casting and production, given his company Solar Pictures co-produced the project along with Warner Brothers. McQueen was often disagreeing with Warner Brothers, who wanted the film shot on a studio lot, yet McQueen insisted and got his wish that it be filmed entirely on location. He often got into conflicts with executives who he would kick off the set when they would visit and refuse to take their calls when asking about the production. The city of San Francisco was chosen as the mayor of the city was keen on bringing in Hollywood interest, and as such, McQueen and director Peter Yates were given enormous freedom of the city, with streets and roads blocked or closed to allow filming, and other locations such as hospitals and police stations were available to production. In a promotional agreement, the Ford Motor Company gave 2 late model 390 GT Fastback Mustangs for use in the film and the chase. The cars were modified as suspension, brakes, and the engines were altered in order to take the punishment they were to undertake for the filming. In addition, 2 Ford Galaxy sedans were offered for use in the chase, though they were found to be too heavy and lacked the power needed to meet the demand of the steep roads and jumps of the city. The producers instead chose to purchase 2 '68 Dodge Charger RTs, both of which only required minor modifications to their suspension for use in the chase, as they were equipped with 440 big block Magnum engines. The cars were modified by race car builder and driver Max Bachowski. Although he did do a number of the driving scenes in the film himself and was key in the creating of the choreography, Steve McQueen did not do all the driving, as some of the more hairy turns and jumps were done by stunt performer Bud Akins, who McQueen had gotten to become friends with due to their shared passion for motorcycles. Akins had worked with McQueen before as his stunt double in 1963's The Great Escape, performing the now famous motorcycle jump. Akins was brought in as the insurance company was not comfortable with McQueen undertaking some of the more riskier stunts of the film and insisted on an alternative driver when needed. One of the giveaways when McQueen is driving and when Akins is standing in for him is when the camera cuts to the interior shots during the chase. The rear view mirror in the Mustang shows McQueen driving, yet is flipped when Akins is driving to avoid his reflection. Bullitt was shot on Arriflex cameras on 35mm print and in 1:85:1 aspect ratio. Arriflex cameras were chosen as they were some of the smaller, more lightweight cameras available at the time that made them the better option to use mounted within and outside the cars and on location due to the confinement of space availability. Although there were a number of editing mistakes made, mostly to extend the chase by cutting to different angles of some of the same shots, film editor Frank P. Keller won the Academy Award for Best Film Editing the following year at the Oscars. Along with the green VW, several other vehicles were used in order to control traffic at the more dangerous intersections, such as the white '68 Pontiac Firebird that also appeared several times during the chase. The stunt of the Charger crashing took some engineering to perform, as it required the Charger to be seen colliding into a gas station and blow up upon impact. Though done in separate stages to achieve the explosion post-collision, a special mount was created to attach the Charger and the Mustang together in order for the Mustang to side tow the Charger without the need of a driver due to the high risk of the stunt. Once enough momentum was created, a special release was used to detach the Charger, propelling it into the intended point of impact. It was stunt legend Kerry Lofton who would perform this maneuver and was also an uncredited coordinator for the chase. Lofton was revered in Hollywood for his motor vehicle work that spanned over 60 years. Of the main cars used for the chase, one of the Dodge Chargers was destroyed in the crash, while it is debated if more than 2 Chargers were actually purchased and what their fate was. Some have claimed to own one of the other cars used, yet no confirmation has fully been made and their authenticity is up for debate. One of these cars was at one time owned by Arnold Welch, who while restoring his '68 Charger discovered some makeshift holes drilled into the floor and parts of the body that seemed to match up some behind the scenes stills and footage showing where cameras were mounted onto the car. Again, this had not been fully confirmed, but the car would eventually be sold into the hands of a collector who has continued the story and is hoping to one day confirm the Charger's connection to the film. However, the 2 Highland Green Mustang GT 390 fastbacks that were used in the film had been eventually found and had their own story after the film's production wrapped, as they were sold off and eventually found their way into the hands of private owners, and one was even discovered in a junkyard in Mexico. On January 10, 2020, the unrestored of the 2 had been sold at auction for $3.4 million with a final sale price of $3.74 million, making it one of the most expensive movie cars ever to be sold, just behind the original 1960s TV Batmobile, which was sold for $4.62 million. Lasting 10 minutes and 53 seconds, from the beginning of the scene where Bullitt is dropped off to the end when the killers are seen burning, those minutes of cinema history are still praised, and those who brought the chase to completion and performed the stunts remembered for changing the way Hollywood and the world would make car chases forever.